If you bought one of America's 5 best-selling trucks in the last 3 years, you may have already made a costly mistake. And you are not alone. Right now, owners of the F-150, the Silverado, the Ram 1500, the Sierra, the Maverick, and honestly, most gas trucks built in the last few years are watching the $66,000 they paid for that truck lose value faster than they're paying down the loan. Almost a third of trade-ins right now come in underwater, and the average owner is bringing over $7,000 in debt into their next purchase, the highest that number has been on record. The average truck loses about 34% of its value in 5 years, and full-size trucks specifically run a bit higher, closer to 36%. The Silverado is already losing more than that, and it's not even the worst of the 5. Underneath the hood of almost every one of these trucks is the same experimental technology: smaller turbocharged engines, cylinder deactivation, tighter tolerances, everyday owners becoming the field test for whether it actually holds up. One 2026 Ram owner found out the hard way. His truck overheated before he made it 800 miles. None of that shows up on a test drive. It shows up on a repair order and then on a trade-in slip. That's not a maintenance record. That's a resale curve, and it's already been decided before you ever open the hood. So, if you own one of these trucks, or you're thinking about buying used, you need to see this before it becomes the purchase you regret. Here are the 5 trucks already bleeding resale value in 2026, and the one thing every dealer knows about them that never makes it onto the window sticker. Number 5, the Ford Maverick. The Maverick is actually the exception on this list on paper. It holds resale value better than almost any small truck in America, depreciating around 31% over 5 years according to IC Cars, well under the segment norm. Fuel costs come in lower than every other truck here too, with the gas EcoBoost rated 26 miles per gallon combined. Per the EPA, insurance runs close to the same $2,400 a year as the rest of this list, but 5-year maintenance comes in at a manageable $3,341, the cheapest on this list. That's exactly why the real problem catches people off guard. The 2-liter EcoBoost's exhaust manifold is built directly into the cylinder head. No separate part, no easy swap, and owners in Maverick forums have been comparing notes on hairline cracks showing up as early as 50,000 miles. Around the same mileage, the boost control solenoid tends to go too. That's the part that regulates turbo pressure, and when it fails, you'll see a check engine light and a real loss of power, not just a warning. Neither part is something dealers keep in stock. It gets special ordered the day it fails. One owner put it plainly on a forum thread: solid little engine, but budget for the manifold and the solenoid before year 5, not after. This was supposed to be the safe, no-drama choice on this list. For most owners, it still is. But there's a truck at number 4 where on paper and in practice split even further apart, and the gap is measured in federal investigations, not forum threads. Number 4, the GMC Sierra. On paper, the Sierra does what it's supposed to. The 6.2 delivers real power, averages around 17 miles per gallon, insurance runs about $2,400 a year, and 5-year maintenance comes in around $3,200, all completely ordinary. Even its depreciation looks tame at first glance. 38% over 5 years per IC Cars, barely above the full-size segment's own 36, which is the more relevant number since that's the class it's actually competing in. That small gap is exactly the problem, because it isn't random variance, it's the L87 engine's bearing defect. The bearings that support the crankshaft wear out early, and when they go, the engine can lose power without warning, sometimes on the highway. GM's own recall filing covers nearly 600,000 trucks and SUVs. And in that filing, GM disclosed 28,000 field complaints and 42 fire allegations tied to the defect. Out-of-warranty replacement runs $15,000 to $20,000. On a truck this size, that's most of what it's worth. It gets worse. NHTSA is now separately investigating whether the failure extends to another 280,000 trucks built outside that recall window. And in January, regulators opened a third inquiry because 36 owners reported the same failure after the recall repair was already done. A completed recall on this engine isn't the finish line, it's a checkpoint. The resale market hasn't fully caught up to the severity yet, which is exactly why that small depreciation gap is the risk, not the reassurance, and any dealer running your vehicle identification number before a trade-in offer sees the same recall history you do. At least the Sierra has years of data behind it. The next truck on this list is so new, the resale market is having to guess, and it's not guessing kindly. Number 3, the Ram 1500. This is the strangest story on the entire list, and it's still being written in real time. The Hurricane genuinely delivers on the spec sheet, more horsepower and torque than the old Hemi in some trims, and insurance is among the cheapest on this entire list, under $2,400 a year. What it doesn't deliver is the efficiency that was supposed to come with going smaller and turbocharged. Car and driver's own long-term test found real-world mileage falling to 15 miles per gallon, 4 short of the truck's own EPA rating. And in real-world towing comparisons, owners have clocked the Hurricane getting worse mileage than the old V8 it replaced, not better. Maintenance backs that up at almost $6,000 over 5 years, the highest of any truck here. For a year, Ram sold the 1500 with no Hemi option at all, Hurricane only. Then this year, the Hemi came back, and it sold 10,000 orders in 24 hours. Read that as a verdict, because the resale market already has. One 2025 Ram Tungsten, Hurricane only, lost $20,000 in a single year. A documented cooling system defect hasn't helped its case either. One owner posted to a Ram Facebook group that the thermostat failed and his 2026 Bighorn overheated at 800 miles before his first oil change. Serious enough that Stellantis issued a customer notification covering roughly 5,000 trucks, the kind of internal flag a dealer sees on a trade-in appraisal long before a private buyer ever would. Nobody knows which owner you'll be, and neither does the resale market, but at least the Ram story is still being written. The next truck's problem has been sitting in writing for over a decade. Number 2, the Chevrolet Silverado. This should be the safest bet on the list. America's second best-selling nameplate, roughly 17 to 18 miles per gallon, depending on drivetrain, $2,500 a year to insure, and about $3,500 in 5-year maintenance. Nothing unusual in the spec sheet. And yet, by some measures, per IC Cars, it's already the worst depreciating new truck sold in America, pushing 40% gone in 5 years, against that same full-size segment average of 36%. The reason is the 5.3-liter active fuel management system, which deactivates 4 cylinders to hit fuel economy targets. And GM put the resulting failure pattern in writing years before most of these trucks were even built. There is an active class action covering 2014 through 2021 models that still has not settled. A plug-in disabler exists that restores the standard oil path these lifters were never designed around, running somewhere around $150 to $200 installed. Cheap insurance most owners shopping these trucks used have no idea exists until the engine has already started ticking. Parts for the actual fix routinely sit on back order at independent shops. Once word gets around, a truck needs the job. One owner summed up what that costs in practice in a comment on GM Authority. He bought his Silverado used at 87,000 miles, the transmission went at 96,000, and 3 weeks after that fixed the motor went too, bent push rod. $42,000 into the truck between purchase and repairs, and it is worth $20,000 on today's market. GM kept selling the same system for 3 more years after writing that bulletin. They knew. They kept going, and every dealer pricing a trade-in on this generation already knows it too. Now, here is the one that should sting the most, because it is not a niche engine or a discontinued trim. It is the truck sitting in more American driveways than any other vehicle on Earth. Number 1. The Ford F-150. America's best-selling vehicle for 40 years, and by the most current data available, the fastest depreciating truck on this entire list. Over 43% gone in 5 years, per IC Cars. Real-world fuel economy on the base EcoBoost runs 19 to 23 miles per gallon, insurance averages around $2,400 a year, and 5-year maintenance runs closer to $3,600 total, per car edge, close to the Maverick's number and far below the Ram's. None of that is the problem. The 3.5 EcoBoost's cam phasers they control valve timing, and when they wear out, you get a rattling engine, a check engine light, and eventually rough running. The repair runs $1,500 to $5,000, common enough that a 5-liter Coyote V8 with identical mileage now commands roughly a $2,000 resale premium over an EcoBoost truck, purely on reputation, before a mechanic even looks under the hood. Ford quietly ran a customer satisfaction program on this exact issue, covering 2017 through 2020 trucks. Free reprogramming for everyone, plus a prorated cam phaser replacement if the noise came back, extended out to January of 2023. Nobody at Ford called that an admission. Dealers didn't either, but every one of them knows why a Coyote commands that premium over an EcoBoost on their own lot. In a forum post, one owner documented over $10,000 in EcoBoost-related repairs across 2 years. Not a horror story, just a normal record for this engine once it's past warranty. That's the math working against America's best-selling truck every time one goes up for trade. The volume that makes it easy to find on every lot in the country is the same volume dragging its resale value down. If you own one of these 5 trucks, the fix depends on which one. On the Silverado or Sierra, ask your shop about the disabler before the ticking starts. It's a few $100s now, against thousands later. On the F-150, get the KM phaser inspected if you're past 100,000 miles, especially if you bought before that extended warranty kicked in. On the Ram, run your vehicle identification number and check whether your Hurricane falls inside that cooling system notification. On the Maverick, budget for the manifold before year 5, not after. If you're shopping used, pull the vehicle identification number at nhtsa.gov before you fall in love with the price, and ask for the recall history on anything built in these windows. If the seller can't answer, that's an answer too. And if you've already lived through one of these repairs, drop the year, the mileage, and what it set you back in the comments. That number is worth more to the next buyer than anything that was ever printed on the sticker. If this video found you before the trade-in offer, that's exactly what this channel is here for. Subscribe.